and welcome to Suffragette City Radio. I'm DJ Lippy.
I'm Sobering Maid.
What are we talking about today?
I was going to talk about witches today because it's been Halloween.
It's been the witching season.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I am going to go, strap yourself in for this one. I'm going to be discussing the government's gender equality roadmap.
What is that?
Basically, the government's equality office has just released a new piece of guidance that's going to be laying out what they're going to do to be tackling the gender pay gap, where it comes from, and what they're going to do to fix it.
Okay. Before we get there, what have you been up to?
Fuck all. I don't know. I got an undercut.
That's feminist, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Gave myself a black eye somehow. Don't know. It's a skill that I have, knocking into things. But yeah, fuck all, really. I don't know. I can make things up. I've been doing stuff. But...
Well, we were at Philia. We did like
Philia.
a little podcast from Philia. You can listen to that. Suffragette City Radio Extra.
It took me a little bit to get over that. Actually, it was knackering. I was there for like 3 days, and we were slinging the merch all the time, weren't we? But it's just quite exhausting to hear terrible stories about things that happen. So.
Yeah, on the one hand, it was so amazing to connect with so many amazing women, and just it felt really powerful in that conference. But on the other hand, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot.
I just want to go for the disco, you know me. I mean, it is good to hear these stories, but I don't know. I feel like I get it. It's all really shit. But
newsflash, life for women.
It's pretty shit.
It's shit in different ways the world over.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have to read about it and stuff, but I mean, I get it. You don't need to preach to the choir, but then you do need to tell them about certain issues that are impacting women around the world. So I guess it is good. But yeah, like I say, it's a bit exhausting.
Yeah. I dropped in on Michael Herbert's Radical Women history thing, and it was really interesting. I would recommend anybody in Manchester go to that. So that's kind of the feministy thing that I've been doing. Cool. The one I dropped in on, he was talking about women in the Spanish Civil War, and my main takeaway was the Spanish Civil War was very complicated, and I'm still not sure what happened. But
sounds a bit like Syria, but in Spain. Lots of different factions.
And different rebels,
and different philosophies going head to head, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But that was really interesting, and the role of kind of women in anti-fascism as well, which was really interesting.
Well, it's not something you often hear about, is it?
No, and it's kind of made me think a little bit about the current rise of fascism and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's women will be probably more often than not. It's women who take a role in opposing these things, don't they?
But yeah, that's really what I've been up to. And we've just been prepping more for our event, haven't we?
Woo!
Yeah, on the 30th. So this will be the last podcast before the event, I think.
Will it?
Yeah.
Yes, it will, won't it?
Because it's the end of this month. So get your tickets, 30th.
I can't believe it's 25 days.
Detransition, the elephant in the room.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Are we going to release any details? We can't release any details yet, have we? We've got...
Well, when's this going out? I think we can.
Are we gonna? Tavistock. I'm saying no more.
Well, we've got a panel of detransitioners, and we've got a panel of clinicians. Possibly a panel of parents. But it's all TBC. We'll release more details as we finalise them.
But yeah, we're excited about that.
But yeah, so I have been looking up witches, and the idea of witches and witchcraft is such a huge topic. Lots of different kind of incarnations of the witch the world over. I can't possibly distill them all into a little podcast, so I've just focused on the UK. And the kind of the witch burning craze in the kind of lasted about 300 years or so. So Scotland was the witch-burning capital of Europe between about 1479 and 1727. So, it's
quite a long time.
Yeah. They burned 5 times more executions than other leading European states.
Yeah, they were a bit mad. Scotland. I know that the king, one of the kings was mad on witch burning, and he was a Scottish one, wasn't he?
Yeah, King James the Sixth and First of Scotland and England.
Yeah, he was obsessed with witches, wasn't he?
Oh, yes, he was. I've got a bit on him later on. But he wrote this book called Demonology.
Okay.
But yeah, he was obsessed with it. I'm pretty sure he hated women. And he doesn't have the best judgment as well. Like, he had a string, so he was married to Princess Anne of Denmark, but he had a string of male lovers as well, and one of them I think like ran off with some money from, like, he appointed his boyfriend as head
like
of
the treasurer.
Yeah, or some sort of role like that, and his boyfriend ran off with some money. Then his boyfriend came back, and I think he gave him like another job.
Did he blame it on the witches?
Possibly.
Which made me do it.
Yeah. But yeah, so between 1479 and 1727, at least 2,500 women and men, about 15% of witches were men, were killed in Scotland. Thousands more were tortured and put on trial. So, like, where does this come from? I mean, I don't have answers to this. I was trying to research, like, where does it come from? And scholars argue it's probably a lot of different factors.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did this at uni, so I could probably have a go at saying what it is. I mean, I studied anthropology, so a lot of that is, you will study witchcraft. Interestingly enough, in Africa, there's a witch craze still occurring. I mean, they're still happening around the world, really. You find places like, when they studied it for like legal court records, at one point they're studying it, you can read the court records to see them putting witches on trial, and then when that becomes like, they realise that there's no such thing as a witch, you find people put on trial for like mobbing basically and killing people because they were witches.
So it's just the mob turning on someone else to be a mob to.
So you can like follow it through. And I know in Africa it's mainly like a man thing. If you're accused of witchcraft, it's not like a gendered thing. So men are as likely to be accused of witchcraft as women are. So
that's interesting. I've heard that in Papua New Guinea there's been some recent cases of women being burned as witches. It's like, or killed as witches. It's horrible. But there's been an interactive map of the witch burnings in Scotland, which was launched by somebody called Emma Carroll in conjunction with a few other people, and it's basically to commemorate all these women who were burned in Scotland. Now, I went to university in Dundee, and I remember there was a building, because there are quite a lot of old buildings in Dundee. There was a building on the way to the bus station where we went, down to the gay club where I used to go all the time, and like in the courtyard of that building they'd burned witches, but it was just really harrowing because we had just grow up hearing about witches and the witch burnings, but these women were just, a lot of the time they were just single, poor, but women who were post-menopausal or menopausal or poor or widows were disproportionately represented amongst witch burnings. And sometimes men would just accuse women just if they had some land that the men wanted. If it was a single woman with no husband and she had some land that a man wanted, he could just accuse her of being a witch. It was
terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I mean, I don't know. I did again. I went to Goldsmiths, and it's the history department's renowned for being feminist. It's run by Sally Alexander, who I was reading about actually. She's like a proper second waver, but then it got like queer theoried, and basically most of the syllabus was really subtly telling you that radical feminists don't read it. Like, they're just like laughable creatures. And I've got this book, The Witch in History, which is about the way that radical feminists have used witches to construct their own narrative. And I guess one of the things that we forget about when you read through these stories of these people that got killed, they were like really bad neighbours. Like, a lot of it's like, how do you, in a small scale society where you can't just send people to jail and there's no ASBOs, like if somebody's really, really, really out of order, witchcraft, with that, like last resort, let's call her a witch. I mean, I'm not defending the defensible because you don't want to be burnt at a stake, but it's really interesting to see the way that different epochs look back at the witch burning and the way that it's constructed throughout time. Like Macbeth was mad on witches, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I was reading up about this as well, and about the different kind of laws, and then that all got quite complicated because this is a massive topic. But also, so there was a difference between accusing a woman of a witch and just like accusing her of petty criminal offences as well, and that was like the highly gendered element of it, because there's just a lot of superstition at the time, and they think, or some scholars believe, that in Europe, kind of the witch craze in Europe kind of came out of the superstition and the death of the plague
Okay.
Like people were just worried, like wanting to point fingers, wanting to like couldn't
find someone to blame.
Couldn't quite fathom how this disease was spreading, how it was. Like some people could, but like generally they couldn't. Yeah. And between about 1482 and 1782, guess about how many women across Europe were accused of being witches?
1 million.
No, I don't think there was even like, this is after the plague. I think the population wasn't that big. This number isn't going to be impressive now. You've gone high.
10.
It was 100,000 women.
Oh, no, that's still quite a lot though, isn't it?
Women and men,
yeah,
but mostly women were accused, and then about 40 to 50,000 were executed. That's what estimates are.
I mean, there's a lot of people dying there, but there's a lot. Thing is though, like there's a lot of history covered, and there's a lot of Europe covered, and because I did do history, like you realise it's so specific in each era. Like there'll be very different things going on. This is like drawing generalizations, which is what we do. We look back and we see all these innocent women that are killed, but like
this is a 300-year period, so different stuff would have happened.
I mean, I think that it's different on the continent and on in England. There's a different types of witches and witchcrafts, and I know a lot of it's to do with Protestantism as well. A lot of it, when the Protestants took over, they took all the old Catholic folk beliefs that the people were still practicing from pagan times, and they interpreted that as signs that they were witches, but actually it was just that they were like traditional Catholics, and the Catholics couldn't be asked like getting people to be proper Christians. They just were like, oh, we'll let you do your little funny little thing over there, but like, should you still believe in Jesus? They'd be like, oh yeah, no, I do, I'm just gonna like continue. All the old pagan festivals like Christmas were continued, and they just sort of scrubbed out, I don't know, all the different gods, and then put like Christ at the top, and then all the saints were like all the old pagan like the old pagan gods basically got
how they managed to assimilate Christianity into the UK, isn't it? Just by like lifting some of the traditions we already had, just
robbing it and then rubbing it out and then writing God. But like that's one thing I've read, like a lot of the later periods were basically part of the culture war at the time, which was a lot of it was persecution of Catholics.
That's interesting.
But that's like that, because that's one I did study that era like quite specifically, and so that it's like that's the criticism of it all, like what's going on in this era of time. Lots and lots and lots of different things, but I can.
And guess what? Like the finger lands on women.
No, it's always coming back to women, isn't it?
And there was this idea that it was the devil rather than like, so more women were burned as witches in Europe because they were thought to be more susceptible, because they were morally weaker and spiritually weaker. But it was actually that the devil was acting through them. But you can't put the devil on trial, so you would be putting the human who acted as a conduit on trial, and because they were, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. But it was really just mass hysteria. But then also I just think like calculated political reasons.
Oh yeah, there will have been a lot going on at a local level in terms of like the local politics and politicking, wouldn't it?
So the best records in the UK for the witch crazes, so this is like a huge period, but there was like a witch craze in the 1590s in Edinburgh, and there's quite good records survive of that if you want to look it up. In 1612 in Lancashire as well, and in the 1640s in Essex and East Anglia. Now, if I say the name Matthew Hopkins, does that mean anything to you?
No.
He called himself the Witchfinder. The Witchfinder General. Though that title was not officially bestowed on him, he just decided to call himself that. His career started in 1644 and he retired in 1647, and in that 3-year period he is believed to be responsible for 300 executions, which was more than in the previous 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's mad. That were they paying him by like the witch or something?
Well, he was really well paid for his services, and he claimed loads of silly expenses, and he had his entourage. He had women on his team as well, because we all know that women can be handmaidens of the patriarchy. And in 1645, a special tax had to be levied in Ipswich.
Which tax?
Yeah, to pay for all his extra all his transport, like feeding his horses, housing and boarding his entourage, all of this. So they levied a tax in Ipswich, and then he died shortly after he retired, probably of TB.
Okay.
I hope he suffered.
Good.
I really do hope he suffered. But yeah, so that kind of, on a more positive note, it got me thinking about witchcraft today. And I did a little bit of research on the Wicca religion. Now, do you know kind of where the Wicca religion started and what it is?
I'm going to say it started in like the 20s or something. Like.
Yeah, so it was developed in England in the early 20th century. This a British traditional Wicca, it's called, which is kind of like the start of modern Wicca, by somebody called Gerald Gardner and a Doreen Valiente. And the idea was there was no centralized power, and that it was duotheistic. So they had worshipped the goddess, the great goddess, and the great horned god, who was like a male god.
Okay.
And I thought this was interesting because I didn't know that actual like British traditional Wicca is duotheistic, and that they worship kind of maleness and femaleness.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they don't really call themselves religion. Practitioners prefer like a spirituality or a way of life. And this kind of strain of the traditional British Wicca emphasises the polarity of maleness and femaleness, and most covens are formed from a male-female partner.
Okay.
So it's kind of emphasising this sort of like heterosexual idea.
Heteronormative, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's kind of because it's the creation of life.
Well, I mean, it's essential to the propagation of the species, isn't it?
Yeah. But then I got looking into Dianic Wicca as well, which is goddess worship, named after Diana, Roman goddess.
The huntress.
Yeah, and wisdom. And that's very much about celebrating women's bodies and mourning the abuse that women suffer worldwide as well.
Diana's a cool emblem for a religion.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, she used to always, if you caught her, like, she was kept getting caught bathing all the time, so she just set her dogs and like tear all the men apart. Like, it's like she was bathing away there, and a man saw her,
and the big peeping toms.
Like peeping toms always following her around because she's like a virgin goddess, and she was very protective, and she like didn't like the men folk coming in and prying at her when she was naked bathing with all the like nymphs and stuff.
Right.
So that's my Diana story.
Yeah, my kind of gal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, when was your first, like, when do you first remember hearing about like witches in culture? Like...
Well, I guess it's the Megan Mogg books when I was a kid.
Oh my God,
you remember them?
Judith. God, what's the author called?
I don't know.
Because she's the illustrator as well. I think she only died recently.
I love those books.
Same,
I loved them. So I think I always thought witches were quite cool. And then it was like the worst witch. So there's quite a lot of witch things. And then what was that one called? There was like on the TV with teabag in it. I can't remember. There was loads of witch things, and they were all quite positive, really. And it kind of made you want to be a witch. So I don't really think of them as evil.
Yeah.
But then like Roald Dahl, the witches.
Yeah.
Like she's proper creepy. I've rewatched that recently. Do you know who she works for?
Do
you know who all the witches work for?
Oh, they work for like a bloke, don't they?
They work for the RSPCC, Child Protection Charity, which I thought was ironic considering.
God, yeah.
So yeah, the witches all worked for the RSPCC, but that's a side note anyway. But
do you mean NSPCC?
Yeah, NSPCC. That's the animal one, isn't it?
RSPCA is the animal.
The NSPCC, National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, which I thought was quite perceptive.
I'm trying to think back to this film. I watched it years ago.
It's like
it's directed by this guy called Nicholas Roeg, right? Who directed all these weird and wonderful like art films, adult films. He did this really interesting one called Performance with Mick Jagger in it, and one of the foxes, who's the older fox? Is it Lawrence Fox? Oh, I can't remember. And then he just made this really weird kids film.
It's really good, you know.
It's a great piece of filmmaking.
I rewatched it. Like, you should rewatch it. It's on Netflix, but you can watch it as an adult. Like, I was watching it with my niece, and like I was like, I've got an excuse to watch it now, haven't I? But it was genuinely good, because you know, sometimes you watch films from your childhood and ruined my childhood. It's not how I remembered it. But yeah, no, go and watch Witches.
It's quite dark, isn't it?
Really dark, but that's Roald Dahl. He knows kids are really morbid, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So I think that's why we like, when you're a kid, you love like things about witches and witchcraft and ghouls and ghosts and things like that.
When I was young, there's an American series. It's been rebooted now, but Charmed, and it had Shannon Doherty in it, Holly Marie Combs and Alyssa Milano, and then they killed off Shannon Doherty's character and replaced her with Rose McGowan.
Okay.
And I've got two sisters, so there's three of us, and we used to watch it like it was on a Sunday, I think.
Did you all have that's me, that's so me.
Yeah.
Which one were you?
Well, I was the middle child, but I never really related to Piper, so it was Prue, Piper and Phoebe, and then when Rose McGowan came, she was called Paige, and I never really related to Piper. I was always more of a Phoebe, but no, it was so I think I read the kids' books like you, but I remember really identifying with these sisters, and like they're always fighting evil, but they also have problems with their love lives and their families and all of this. But they were very much, it was about sisterhood, and like literally they have the power of three, and when the three of them are together, they create the most powerful magic. Yeah. And I suppose something like that really stuck with me, and I still feel that
it's a little bit message for girls, isn't it? I think my niece is watching something similar now. There's like a
it's been rebooted. I think like, Charmed. Yeah,
but this is like a little. It's a shit. She's 7. This is like a shit version for kids. Like it's really shit. But like they do spells and stuff. Like, but it's 3 women, and it's quite a good message. They're quite good role models, aren't they? When they're not being burnt at the stake, which is
and I think there's this power, this fear of the divine as well, that if I'm going to get a little bit wishy-washy and like women are so great, because we are, but this kind of, so women are the ones that bear life, and I'm not reducing women to like all we can do is have babies or whatever, and I'm not saying that it's what you have to do, but women are the ones that can do it, men can't, and that's really incredible. And I think this kind of idea of celebrating life and celebrating women is really cool, but I think this is where this fear comes from men as well. Like it's this power that we have that they cannot have.
They're excluded from it, aren't they? Well, this is like Freud had the penis envy thing, but apparently it looks like he was inverting that. I think men do envy our reproductive capacity, and so that's why they try and make it like a really shit thing. Like, who would want to be pregnant, and all our bodily functions are disgusting. And I think they might just be a little bit jealous.
Well, I often wonder, like, if religion was invented by men because they didn't know how to deal with death, and you couldn't stand the fact that it was women that created life, so they made this like father figure, this God the Father, God the Son. But that kind of what you were saying about it going back to pagan rituals and them just taking that, transplanting it wholesale and like rubbing it out, it's true. This trifecta idea of the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit in Christianity is the in previous worship to that, when there was this idea of the maid and the mother and the crone, and it's just kind of transplanted wholesale from that, really. God the Father, God the Mother, the Holy Spirit, the wise one, is the crone, the old wise woman, and the Jesus the Son is like the
maiden. Well, I think a lot of it, I mean, earlier on in Christianity, there was a lot more of a female side to it, wasn't it? But that got like pushed out by the patriarchs consecutively. And then one of them, I don't know, I can't pull these facts out of my bumhole, but I know one of them like really hated women in the 6th century.
Oh, and, one of the popes that kind of wrote.
Is it Aquinas, Thomas? It's somebody. He had a proper bee in his bonnet, and he said there couldn't be any female ministers and stuff like that. And it was like, he really didn't like women, and then some other people came along who didn't like women, but I don't know where I'm going with this.
But I wanted to end on curses as well. Right. So I don't know if like back in the European witch burnings I was talking about, like whether they actually curse people or if it's a thing. But I love a good curse.
Have you ever cursed anybody? Or like done a hex?
Oh God, when I was little, when I was younger, I definitely did light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
I think every young girl had like a little witchy phase.
Go for like when you're 14. There's something weird that happens though. Like teenage girls go hysterical, and a lot of the actually fun. Speaking about, no, it's true though. Like all of the a lot of possessions that they find like in the modern days, it'll be teen girls. The Salem witch trials, wasn't it, started by a load of girls, like teenage girls.
They were playing a game, and one of them playing with a crystal ball, and one of them said that they saw a coffin, and it just spiraled out of control.
I mean, like Ouija boards. Do you remember doing Ouija boards at school? And then they got banned.
Yeah, I definitely did Ouija board.
Contacting the devil, and like somebody like, I'm not moving it. I'm moving it. Somebody's moving it. I'm not moving it. No, my sister and her mate started getting into Ouija boards like in this very room, like a few years when they were like 15, and they just all started acting so weird and mad. Like so, I think it's a lot of it's like an outlet, like you're so repressed and you're not allowed to like.
And I think everyone wants to believe that they have magic inside them as well. I don't trust any person who says that they never tried to move something with their mind. I definitely tried to move something with my mind when I was younger. Like after watching Matilda or like any of these other things, or Charmed, I tried to move something with my mind. obviously I couldn't.
This is the problem. I think you get to a certain age and you're just disappointed by magic because it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. You can do a trick, but then that's ages to learn a bit of sleight of hand. Like, I think it'd be really cool to have a little voodoo doll.
Oh yeah,
I've always wanted to have one of them with like an enemy.
But apparently they're like that's completely misappropriated as well, because it's supposed to be good luck, and then like the British colonials said that it was like weird and harmful and mean just because we're trying to demonize the culture that these dolls, like the Caribbean culture, that had these dolls, and they were like, oh, they're witches, when actually like it's more like a comfort thing,
like one of the like an actual
yeah,
I'm holding up my
oh, if you've ever seen those little worry doll things and
like
stuff,
Build-A-Bear, like a Build-A-Bear.
But I've never done like a curse where I've like gathered stuff from my garden and
get
like
some fingernails and
buried half an onion or whatever. But I wonder about like there's some really, really awful people in the world that I curse internally, and I really hope that they suffer, like, you know, like child rapists and stuff like that. But then I think like sometimes I do sort of want to curse like people I've dated that have been really disrespectful. And like I would
give
curse
them like really ironical like
like a modern day curse or something would be like, I curse you, may your water pipe burst whilst you were out of town for 2 weeks and your neighbours aren't in either. Like a curse like that. Or like, may you forever feel like you have a hair on the top of your tongue, but may you never find that hair for the rest of your life.
So not just like, may your penis fall off.
Yeah, no, that's reserved, because that's quite drastic. So that's reserved for like rapists and murderers.
Okay.
But like, if you've just like...
Not for my ex, Brian,
no,
because he cheated on me. You're not using that now. No, I don't think that's a good reason that I'm not allowed to curse people.
Can you imagine if women did actually have magic?
Sorry, that's not a cackle. They should never give us the vote.
Do you have any modern day curses? Send them to us, and we will hex, and we'll do a group coven hex.
If you want to send us good vibes, like think good thoughts about us, maybe like a voodoo doll, or you could just like and subscribe the podcast.
Yeah, you could.
You can find us on Twitter now. We're actually on Twitter, aren't we?
Yeah, Make More Noise too.
Make More Noise too, ingenious. And we're on the
never
Facebook.
Find us. I cast a spell of invisibility.
Honestly, I don't even know why we need to hide. Like, why have I been? I know it's. Sorry, I'm not going to talk about that issue anymore, am
I? But yeah, that's all I have on witches. Like, I've just touched on a massive subject, but I just thought it'd be interesting given that it was Halloween. You're talking about what, the gender roadmap to nowhere?
Yeah, well, it's the Government's Equality Office, which is addressing gender inequalities, but looks like I think it used to be just the Women's Equalities Office, but then they just decided to make it all of the minorities. So now it's the Equalities Office. So now it's obviously tackling all inequality.
Okay.
But they've just released their Gender Equality Roadmap, which is trying to reduce the gender pay gap.
Okay.
So I thought, I'll have a look at this, because it's it's going to set out what the government's interventions will be in the next few years. So I thought I would take a look at it. So there's 8 points that they could say are creating the gender pay gap. The first one is gender stereotypes for kids. So this is that. Girls playing at nurses, playing with the babies, boys being like superheroes.
You see it on clothes as well, like
everything.
It's
really
so annoying. Like Daddy's little princess, like I'm pretty,
Smile.
I'm sweet and nice,
I'm
and, like,
smiling.
And like the lads, it's like I'm a hero, I'm a scientist, like
I am awesome.
Yeah.
I mean that's a huge thing, throughout your life. But this is where it all starts. It's when you're young, and it even shapes you what things you study at school, what things you enjoy to study. The second thing is they say women tend to work in low-paid sectors.
Yeah.
Which is true. Tend to be, again, caring roles, nursing.
But do women work in low-paid sectors, or are they low-paid because women work in them?
Well, this is an interesting thing, actually, because I heard that the software in the 1980s, software engineering, coders used to be women, because it wasn't a highly paid job. It was literally just seen as like don't know, like knitting or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an administrator.
So,
well,
like data processing work, yeah.
Yeah. So when men started getting into it, can you guess what happened to the...
The pay went right up.
And where did the women go?
Away.
Yeah.
But in Russia as well, so like doctors in the UK are paid very highly, especially at consultant level. But in Russia, it's one of the lowest paid professional jobs there is. And in Russia, it's mostly, the doctors are mostly women.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another thing is that they say the benefit system disadvantages carers.
It's true, yeah.
Which is a bit fucking rich coming from the government that introduced universal
Oh, really?
credit.
When you chopped all that stuff, you're now telling us it disadvantages carers?
Oh, really? But again,
carers are more likely to be women, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Women take time off to care for kids. It's estimated, and also just caring duties in general.
Yeah, elderly relatives and
tend to fall for women. And do you know how much that's worth a year?
Oh,
If you put a price on it
nationwide.
Yeah,
1.2 billion.
411 billion.
What?
Yeah.
Like billion, 411 billion.
Yeah, it seems a lot, doesn't it?
I think like we say these numbers like million, billion, and we don't actually realise like how much that is. Like somebody told us something like a million seconds is like 7 days and a billion seconds is like 11 years or something. Like that's the difference between a million and a billion, and it's 400 billion.
I don't know. That might not be right.
No, well, it might be right.
that's what I've got written down here.
No, it probably is. It's just like a lot, and I can believe it.
So you know that's all the work women are doing. But because of all this caring work, they get barriers to re-entry when they're trying to enter into the.
Oh yeah.
Because it's interesting if you look at the gender pay gap at the beginning of your working life, it stays sort of stable.
Yeah.
And it's only when women have a family that obviously the men don't take the time off, so that's when the women's earnings take a nosedive, and by the time you're in your 50s, that's when it's at the widest, because obviously if you've been in the workforce, then you're going to get career opportunities that women don't get.
Well, that happened with my parents as well.
Excuse me. Happens with most people. So, and also, there's barriers to re-entry of employers not really giving enough flexi time and stuff. But all in all of this sort of lifetime of inequality means that 70% of those struggling financially in older age are women.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
And then number 8 of the 8-point plan is just other. So it just says that's what I've summarised it for you.
Okay.
Basically, it's looking at redundancy, pregnancy and maternity discrimination, and also sexual harassment.
Yeah, that can drive women out of the workforce or prevent them from putting themselves forward for promotions. Yeah.
So, what are the government going to do about it?
Probably have a committee about a committee, put together another 7-point plan to be enacted over 5 years, have a review about that committee, and then...
You sound somewhat cynical about this government's commitment to gender equality. And also, I keep saying gender equality, that's not what we're talking about, is it? Sex equality, but this is because it's written down. Yeah, so, I don't know I will tell you what they're going to do, but basically, fuck all.
Yeah.
So... They said they're going to fight gender stereotypes in schools, which is good effort. But you know, I think that it's not really concrete. It's just a bit wishy-washy. There's no curriculum.
No, actually strategy, and they're
allowing bits and schemes and stuff.
At the moment, like they're allowing bodies who have like these schemes of work that are actually really sexist.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about some of the education that kids are being told about like gender identity at the moment. It's absolutely rooted in sexism.
Yeah, well, it's saying that if you like playing with toys with the opposite sex, then literally.
What even is a toy for the opposite sex? So that's a stereotype in itself.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, this is the new curriculum that's coming out, isn't it? The national curriculum on families and.
If on a non-uniform day you turn up in boys' clothes, and if you're a girl, like what does that mean? Are you going to get a mark next to your name? But what about necessity? Like if you're poor, if you're working class and you're wearing hand-me-down clothes, they might be boys' clothes.
Well,
like
it's just not very joined up, isn't it? They've not really thought this one through, have they?
No.
So again, the fact that women work in low-pay sectors, the plan is just to educate people.
But there'll still be low-pay sectors.
Yeah, but they say they're going to educate employers. So I don't know. Educate them. You need to pay your workforce more. It sounds like something the toys are going to do, doesn't it? It sounds like something the toys are definitely going to do. You should pay their nurses more. No, what? Not what? No. So yeah, they're basically going to educators about probably not working in the low paid sectors. Which,
great. I'd love to try that.
Okay, here's another one.
Okay.
So the benefit system disadvantages carers. What's the solution?
Take away benefits.
Universal credit.
Yeah.
Basically, they were saying, like, we're rolling out this amazing system that's going to help women, and it's called universal credit, and it's going to allow you to be more flexible with the hours that you work. And basically, they're just terrorising single mums now, aren't they? That's the thing, when your child's gone to school, like, you've got to get a full-time job. And obviously, it's not. They don't consider the difficulties of having a job that fits around the childcare. You've got to take your kids to school in the morning, pick them up, Or
if you can't do that, you need to arrange babysitting or whatever, which costs money.
But then women are working in the lower paid jobs, this has already been established.
You can't pay. It's really, we should do like a whole episode on universal credit actually, because it's just been an unmitigated disaster for women.
No, I hate universal credit.
For our international listeners, there used to be a bunch of different benefits, like depending. So you got like housing benefit was separate, job seekers allowance was separate,
income support you could get separate,
and the Tory government have amalgamated all of this into one single payment called universal credit, and it means that you just get one payment. Like they work out how in what areas you qualify for how much, and it's one payment. But it means that it's much easier if you're in an abusive relationship. It's much easier for a man to financially abuse a woman, because it used to be that the housing benefit would go to whoever was paying the rent. If it was like child tax credits or whatever, they would go to whoever was the primary carer for the kids. And now you just have one single payment, and that just goes to the nominated person in the household.
Did you know that that's why it was established? That's why that fund exists. Why it goes? It's a universal benefit for all women, all parents, but it was set up because they realised that a lot of women weren't getting anything because their husbands were just bastards, basically. So that was why it was created. That's why they have child support. Is it child support?
Yeah.
That's why it exists, because of abusive men. And that's why it's established. So the government have done all these changes, and they haven't consulted or understood what the impacts. They haven't done proper impact assessments.
So sorry, they changed to universal credit to stop. Or what you saying?
With that benefit, child benefit, when it was introduced in like the 40s or 50s, it was because they wanted to make sure that on a bare minimum women had enough to like feed the kids. Because the husbands were just bastards,
and the Tories are just taking that away from them.
And it obviously just shows a lack of understanding of these things, and they've not really assessed it, but they just want to save money.
Tell you what, they've not assessed it.
Really. So universal credit is the answer. Right, brilliant. So women take time off for the kids. They're going to offer $6 billion in childcare support, which is good. $6 billion is quite a lot of money, but again, how much is that? How much
is that per like single parent or per low income parent, and what sort of hoops you have to jump through?
I mean, I think one of the initial rallying cries of second wave feminism, which we totally forgot, was they wanted free universal 24/7 childcare.
Oh yeah,
which I think would be ace. Imagine just having obviously properly qualified and stuff, but not having to worry about childcare, because it's the main barrier women face with going on in the world. Obviously you don't want to just leave your kid with strangers all the time, but in the real world people do have to go out and earn a living, and childcare costs are one of the main barriers to well, you still got to work, but you're not going to take any of it home because you spend it all on childcare. What else? So what else are they going to do? They're going to educate people about the poor pensions, so they'll make better choices.
I mean, apparently. Is that going to affect all the women that were working before the Equal Pay Act 1970? Like, if you've not like been working and earning the same amount, then you're not going to have like the same pension pot. This is like part of the reason that the WASPy women are so upset. As well as like the change of the state pension age, but like
they're going to make a voluntary code called the Investing in Women Code, which is going to help to address that somehow.
What a code?
Investing in Women Code, like a voluntary code. Like employers can sign up to it to show we care about women.
And then they can put like that investors in people thing, like they can put that on their front door or on their website. Because like that'll do a lot.
Work, won't it? And then what they're going to do about sexual harassment? They're just going to do a consultation on the legislation.
Okay.
Again, which is good, working out how these laws are working in practice. How does...
I think we probably do need laws and public consciousness raising in tandem, because I think #MeToo has done loads for workplace harassment, but then I think we're getting a pushback against Me Too at the moment.
Well, there's a lot of people like, you can't even talk to a woman at work now. It's like, you can, just don't, like, grab her tits.
Yeah, it's not hard.
It's like, we can't say now these days. Like, can say what you like, just don't, you know, be pervy with them. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I did today. I looked at the gender equality roadmap and I just shat on it, basically. I don't know. I want to give constructive feedback, but it's like many things, you know. They want to do this huge project. It's a big piece of social engineering if you wanted to get rid of the gender pay gap, but they've not really going to invest any money into it.
I wonder...
You know, and I think one thing's missing. It doesn't seem to be looking at the male's responsibility and looking at flexi time and, you know. Yeah. Allowing it, you know, making it easier for men to take some time off.
Yeah, parental leave. I read a study, a lot of men who have taken parental leave, like, have a much better relationship with their kids, and stuff, and like much better relationship with their partner. It's they have we've got terrible paternity leave in the UK. I think it's only 2 weeks. Yeah, isn't it? Your employer can give you more, but I think it's only government mandated 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Well. Yeah, I mean, that's in the US, that's probably what you get as a woman as well, isn't it? But I mean,
I don't even think you have like statutory maternity leave in the US. I mean, maybe it differs state by state, but
I mean, I still think with all the child benefits and stuff, I mean, with all the, if you did make it totally equal with childcare responsibilities, I think there's still a huge thing, which is when you've had a baby, you need to take about a year out. You know, nursing a baby, aren't you? So I still think that even if you did everything to make everything gender neutral, whatever, you're still going to have women.
There's only one sex that can give birth.
That's not inequality. That's just reality, that, isn't it? Like we are going to give birth and continue to give birth. But I just think that the system should give us our fair dues, basically, because we do create births, create life, and we're not really financially like rewarded for it, are we?
I suppose this is the thing between equality and equity. You know, what we actually do, if we treat everybody the same, it doesn't quite work. Yeah, because men and women do have different needs when it comes to healthcare, especially. Yeah, I mean,
I think if women's roles were valued more, if child rearing was valued more, well, men would probably start doing it. But if child rearing was valued more, it would solve a lot of these problems, and, you know, paid more, and, you know, the state needs to, I think, support us a lot more when, you know, as citizens, because that, you know, mothers do have an incredible role to play in replicating society.
So, well, if we love capitalism so much, why aren't we paying the class of people that quite literally create the workforce that keeps capitalism ticking along?
Well, patriarchy, isn't it?
Like,
we don't even think to ask for the wages, though, is it? It's seen as benefits, isn't it?
Wages for housework, that was a rallying cry that we've forgotten about as well.
Bring that one back.
Wages for housework. Yeah. But yeah, like if you want capitalism to keep going, you need like the actual agents of, you know, the
worker ants.
Yeah, though you need, well, yeah, I don't want to call us that, but you know, like, you need the people that keep capitalism ticking along, and there's only one class of people that literally create those people, and they do it for little to no cost.
Is that the witch class? The witch class.
Yeah, the witch class. Class of witches that actually make the capitalism keep going. So, but yeah, don't get paid because just women, innit?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's lack of respect and all that. A lot of this stuff, like, you know, encourage women in STEM subjects and science and, you know, things like that. Well, yeah, but it's only one part of the problem, isn't it? It's the other side of it is that anything that we do is automatically just sneered upon and seen as like devalued.
Like witchcraft as well, coming full circle when like girls get into witchcraft and stuff. It's just like silly and people make fun of it and take the mick out of it. But like lads that absolutely love sport is venerated. People love sport. Or like what's something else that like lads love?
Boobs.
Like Fortnite. I know like girls like play games as well, but you know, like but the stuff that's stereotypically seen to be interesting to lads.
Computer games in general, they're so boring, but obviously I'm not allowed to sit and complain, and the sport's always got to be on the telly even though it's shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just my brother. It's constantly had fucking football on. Like it's got any more worth than like hexing your ex.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. I guess.
Like your fantasy football team, for example, like that's got any more worth than
witches.
Yeah, than like a silly coven online. I don't know.
Yeah, like it's never stiff as a board.
We couldn't make my sister lift up, and I was seriously disappointed because I thought we'd done everything right, and I thought this literally might happen. But yeah, I suppose that's us. Wrapping up, what have we got coming up? The main thing is
our event.
Buy your tickets.
November. Elephant in the Room, Detransition.
Any other feministy stuff?
There's loads. There's always loads coming up, isn't there, all the time now? I should have done one. I never think to just Google this. Spend 5 seconds Googling what's coming up.
It's International Day of Remembrance of Violence Against Women, is it not, in November? Yes, it's also National Toilet Day.
National Toilet Day. We're going to do our article, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've been working on this article. We will release it. We've been working on it. It's been sitting there for a year, and it's going to be a series of articles. It's really good. It's called Radical Bogs. But we just don't put it together.
No, we should do that. It's also International Men's Day in November.
They have a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I feel like, it's their day. Male health is important.
Can we do an article sexually objectifying some of the fittest men?
For International Men's Day, yeah. Some of the hottest men. If you think there's anything we should know about, anything we should cover, do send us an email, tweet us. We're on Insta as well. We're on Facebook.
And on Twitter now.
We're on Twitter. So,
Don't tell the feds.
Don't tell Jack. We'll hex him if he bans us again. But yeah, let us know anything that's going on in your circles.
Yeah. Tweet at us. Are we going to do that card thing that we do?
Oh yeah.
So who is our heroine this week? So
from the Woman Who Dare card game, top trumps, I have picked Helen Keller, who's American, 1880 to 1968. Helen Keller probably did more to promote education and opportunity for the differently abled than anyone in modern times. She remains a powerful symbol, not just of overcoming adversity, but of bringing forth from seeming handicaps the greatest treasures of life. Blind and deaf from age 2, Keller was taken in hand at 7 by the remarkable Anne Sullivan, a teacher sent from Boston on the recommendation of Alexander Graham Bell. Sullivan's dogged, ultimately triumphant struggle to open the young Helen to language eventually became known to millions through William Gibson's Pulitzer Prize-winning play and later film, The Miracle Worker. Keller proved an extraordinary student with a flair for languages and literature. After graduating cum laude from Radcliffe, she lectured worldwide and wrote a number of books, from The Story of My Life, 1902, to The Open Door, 1957. That is so cool. Like, I've often wondered how you educate somebody who's blind and deaf.
Have you seen the film?
No, I've not. Have you?
Yeah, I did it at school. It's good. I can't remember. I can't tell you now. I can't remember. But before that time, there was no way. Before the woman came to educate, teach her, there was no way. They were just thought of as like wild things, and there was no way that you could ever teach them how to speak and to read and stuff. But her teacher, like what she did for her, obviously then that became a method that they can now use with all sort of deaf and dumb people.
Okay.
I mean, I just can't imagine being deaf and dumb. Can you?
Or deaf and blind, you mean?
Deaf and blind, sorry.
Yeah,
no, that's a different thing, isn't it? But yeah, not being able to see and not being able to hear was. I don't know how you make sense of the world. So all she had would be touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
Fascinating. I'm going to read up more about that.
I'd quite like to hear more about the woman. What's the name?
Anne Sullivan. Yeah.
Anne Sullivan. Yeah.
Cool. If you know anything about her, do let us know. I think that's it from us. But yeah, do send us anything you think we might be interested in.
Subscribe, like, do us a review.
A review. And write for us if you want.
Yeah. We are open for submissions.
We'd love to hear from you. Bye.
Bye.